Welcome to this next episode of YouTube, which is just simply entitled Summer Days. And what that means for us is that the wolves tend to be a little bit more active in the early mornings and later in the day. Obviously, heat does affect wolf activity, and so what you're seeing here is a little bit of dominance that's going on. Obviously, Luna taking the lead. Seems to be a little bit of age-specific dominance, meaning that the yearlings are interacting with each other, and then the 5-year-olds are interacting with each other, but they eventually all come together and do a little dominance up in the upper part of the enclosure. The vegetation is very thick. We've had a lot of moisture, and so we're seeing a lot of green coloration, unfortunately, in the pond as well. So we're treating that with some algae control, putting some fish in the pond to help control and consume some algae, and hopefully get that taken care of in the heat of the summer. We will typically see that, but the pond is a valuable asset to the enclosure. The wolves obviously get to cool off. We have mornings that are still in the 40s and 50s, and so a lot of times that's what stimulates these wolves to be so active in the morning, and that means that pond water cools off overnight. So in the morning, it's a nice cool a dip in the pond, and Luna probably does feel pretty good about going in there, especially with some of those aching bones. During the middle of the day, that sun is very hot and that pond warms up. They're not as likely to go into the pond during the middle of the day, so we may do some enclosure enrichments to stimulate them to go in and kind of cool off. Luna, believe it or not, is already growing back her winter coat. We're noticing that her pelage is getting a little bit thicker, and she's getting a little bit more neck hair coming in, so it's a very short period of time from that finish the summer shedding to the winter coat. By August, they're going to probably all have a regrowth of winter coats coming in. And so we're seeing, like I said, interactions still strong between the yearlings, and usually just kind of wrestling, roughhousing. Problem is, when you are in the pond for a while, you may smell a little bit like pond algae, or may smell like our biotic treatment. It's just a microbe that helps eat algae. It's non-toxic, but it creates a little odor on them, so that means that Bolts is going to focus on Luna a little bit. And Luna rarely has anyone focus on her, so you can see her ears pricked and turned to the side. She doesn't care much to be the focus of somebody else's dominance. So as you can see, she's running just fine. She's moving around real well. We see a lot of this early in the morning, chasing each other. Stimulus of enclosure enrichment goes on every noon hour, and that will be every day from June 15th to August 14th. The wolves will get some kind of stimulus. A lot of times it's ice cubes in the pond, beaver tail popsicles, something to stimulate them to go into the water at that noon hour. It allows, obviously, people a chance to see them when they may be sleeping for the warmest parts of the day, but also, like I say, it allows us to get them into the water sometime during that warmest part of the day as well. Then you'll see a lot of grooming, a lot of cleaning behavior. They may be up for 20 to 30 minutes after the enrichment, but then go back to sleep. So it isn't much of a time to view when it's hot and sunny here, but if you time it right and you pick a rainy day, or you come to the center early in the morning or late in the evening, seems to work out okay. We also are offering now a new program for people interested in photographs, where we have 2 evenings a week, on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings, as well as Saturday morning opportunities to come and photograph when the wolves are most active. So you want to definitely check our website for daily programs and to be able to figure out those times and kind of arrange your visit. Otherwise, we always do have behind the scenes on Thursday mornings at 9 o'clock during this June and July period of time to be able to come and see them. So what you're seeing here, a little bit of that juvenile excitement. Bolt's doing a mount on Aiden, and that's kind of a ride-up dominance behavior, while Aiden is making Denali submit. Bolt's is trying to gain a little status over Aiden there, and he certainly is stopped in his tracks. And you can see Bolt's doing what we call an obnoxious submission there, ears and ponytail. With ponytail ears, that means his ears are flat back, almost look like they're pinned in the back of his head, and jaw sparring and trying to obnoxiously submit to Aiden. Of course, Luna's right there. Luna's showing that dominance as the only female here, and pinning Bolts as well as pinning Denali, and being an active player in a lot of those dominance interactions. Again, this is just kind of ritualized. It was started actually by a little bit of howling that got him kind of stimulated, and Aiden still wagging his tail. Certainly it's a little anxious behavior from Bolt that's making it difficult for Aiden to kind of control the situation, but Aiden will stop and calm things down, and everybody else will respond accordingly. So that's a good sign of a pack leader there, and certainly we see these things usually the cooler mornings, and this happened to be about a 49-degree day. The other things that go on in summer is we continually do fly ointment, and sometimes when it's a new ointment, they don't care much for the smell. We'll spray it on a tree or onto the ground and something for them to scent roll on, and this is Grizzer doing a roll around a birch tree, getting some of that fly ointment on him, and that helps to protect him. Actually, Grizzer is fairly good about getting ointment. You can see the tips of his ears are covered with kind of a white cream. We do just coat, because he's very tolerant of it, we do coat his ears and make sure that he doesn't get bitten. Denali is actually very conducive to fly ointment as well. Luna is, Bolts is a little bit less. Aiden, it depends on the day. Shadow Malik, intolerant. And so Shadow Malik a little more difficult to get ointment on them, but fortunately for them, they have got a very thick, dense vegetation that allows them to get some cover and to keep that shade. Once they're out of the sun, they usually don't have nearly as many problems with the flies. The flies seem to be sun-loving things. So as we did last summer, we are doing again where we're spraying the den with cedar oil, and that den is dark and out of the sun, and so basically while there may be flying insects at the entrance, even though it's only a 4-foot deep den, they are relatively fly-free inside. And that, again, is our treatment of that outer coating of cedar oil on the den and around the den. So you'll see us be spraying them quite a bit. We are trying to use some other fly ointment on Shadow Malik. They're fairly reluctant to have anything sprayed on them. Every once in a while we'll try to get a dab of ointment on them, but these two are the most intolerant of that kind of care, making it a little bit challenging. But they have the pond as well, so they can go retreat from the flies if they need to. So that's about it. A typical summer day here. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.